So, let's get to some gun news, shall we? Some gun news, because boy oh boy, do we have gun news. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag here. Some good, some bad, some ugly. So on Wednesday, President Barack Obama gave a speech outlining what he would like to see done when it comes to gun control, including some legislation that he would like to see passed, and also including 23 executive orders that he issued on the subject. Let's start with some of the good. These are proposals that President Obama would like to see Congress pass, that he is pushing Congress to pass. Obama has called on Congress to re-up the assault weapons ban. That is good. That is positive. He has called on Congress to pass a ban on high-capacity ammunition clips. Also a positive thing, also good. He called for universal background checks on all gun sales, so therefore you're closing the gun show loopholes and other, quote, private seller loopholes that exist. He called for the banning of armor-piercing bullets. Also a good thing. All of those ones that I just mentioned, though, however, would have to be passed by Congress, by the House and the Senate, which could prove to be rather unlikely. You never know, though. You never know. There does appear to be the political will sort of out there to at least do something when it comes to the epidemic of gun violence here in this country, which is positive. What will pass the Republican-controlled House of Representatives? That remains to be seen, but, you know, it's certainly, the environment certainly exists right now that something is, in fact, possible. So look, let me break this down a little further here. So, if you listen to the show regularly, you know that I personally have absolutely positively no problem attacking President Barack Obama. I do it all the friggin' time. Hell, I am going to be doing it in this very segment in just a few minutes from now. So get ready. I'm going to be going after Obama here. But here's the deal. The whole gun thing, that news that broke on Wednesday, like I said, there's good, there's bad, and there's ugly. But I want to give credit where it's due. After years, literally, his entire, first 4 years of inaction when it comes to the gun front, when it comes to gun control, after, numerous massacres, and again, like, we're not even talking about the giant, massacres that happened, at Sandy Hook, at the Batman movie in Colorado and Aurora. Not even talking about that, but talking about, the epidemic of gun deaths that are happening in Chicago, Illinois. Just the fact that at least Obama has in fact taken the lead on having a gun control discussion right now, that is a positive thing. And I think, look, I have no problem criticizing Obama, but at least the fact that we're having this discussion and that he has taken the lead on it, I will give him credit for that. However, but again, those things that I listed, the things, the assault weapons ban, the high capacity clip, Obviously, if those were ultimately passed by Congress, obviously it's not going to stop all gun violence here in the United States. But my point I've made before on the show, if they saved one life, if they'd saved just even one life, I think doing an assault weapons ban, doing a capacity clip ban, I think that would actually be worth it. So I am personally glad that we are having this conversation on the national level. That is good. That is positive. Let's move on to some of the ugly and then to some of the bad. For starters, Saturday the 19th, on the 19th, gun fetishists across the country are having what they're dubbing Gun Appreciation Day. That's right, Gun Appreciation Day, a special day where you can tell your gun how much you appreciate it. 'Cause seriously, when is the last time you told your gun how much you appreciate it? When's the last time you took your gun out for a nice dinner and a movie? When's the last time you just told your gun how much your gun means to you and showed it the appreciation and respect that it deserves? All right, so that's the 19th. It obviously that's just silly, but some of the real actual ugly comes from none other than the National Rifle Association. I know, you're shocked and surprised. What, the NRA doing something horrible? Well, anyway, prior to Obama's address on Wednesday, the National Rifle Association decided to make a preemptive strike, if you will, and they made a new television ad which is entitled Stand and Fight. And frankly, the ad is about as ugly as you'd expect from the National Rifle Association. Take a listen. This is an ad from the NRA.
Are the president's kids more important than yours? Then why is he skeptical about putting armed security in our schools when his kids are protected by armed guards at their school? Mr. Obama demands the wealthy pay their fair share of taxes, but he's just another elitist hypocrite when it comes to a fair share of security. Protection for their kids and gun-free zones for ours.
Yeah! I think the president does think his kids are more important than our kids. How dare the President of the United States of America's children get Secret Service protection? How dare they when the rest of us don't? Hey, where's my Secret Service protection? Where's my Secret Service protection to protect me and my family from maniacs with assault weapons that we're trying to keep? Look, obviously, the president, any president, Republican, Democrat, any president and their families are subject to numerous death threats and assassination threats. Some presidents, who am I thinking about? The first black president in the United States history are actually subject to more death threats than others. Well, what you can't tell about this because it's radio and you can't actually see it, is there's just the artwork that they use, these photoshopped kind of images of armed riot guards surrounding Obama, the elitist Obama, surrounding him while they're taking away, everyone else's guns, and we have the gun-free zone. Well, see, the whole bloody NRA campaign is called Stand and Fight. That is what it says at the end of the screen on the ad. Stand and fight, calling people literally to arms. This is an ad about guns, and they're calling people to stand and fight. The imagery is really, it's meant to scare racist white people into thinking that Obama is going to take their guns away and keep his, and the black president's going to kill all the white people with all of his guns. But, again, you guys are not idiots. You know that he is not trying to take away all guns. He's not. But again, the simple fact of the matter is, well-regulated militia. That is what the Second Amendment says. The Second Amendment does not give you the right to a rocket launcher. It does not give you a right to a machine gun or armor-piercing bullets. That does not anywhere near the Second Amendment. They were muskets, for the love of God. And he's not trying to get rid of all guns. What is ridiculous about this whole ad, and the whole ad is ridiculous. What's most ridiculous about the whole ad is when they say this.
Then why is he skeptical about putting armed security in our schools?
Why is he skeptical about putting armed security in our schools? Why? Obviously, folks, the truth is, and actually this is actually where we get to the bad. The truth is, he's actually not skeptical about that. And then, like I said, this is now we're going to get to some of the bad. What I want to talk about in particular is one of President Barack Obama's 23 executive orders. Okay, so of the 23, some of them are good. Some of them are good, like clarifying what mental health services Medicare covers. So so people know that they can get mental health help if they have Medicare. Finalizing regulations for the Affordable Care Act exchanges when it comes to mental health. A positive thing. Launching a national dialogue on mental health. A good thing. Who knows how much this stuff is actually going to actually help, developing model emergency response plans. Yeah, that might be helpful, sure. Nominating a permanent ATF, a full-time ATF director. Apparently there hasn't been an alcohol, tobacco, firearms director, an official one for 6 years. There's some of the executive orders that deal with how background checks work and supposedly streamlining that. I'm going to reserve my judgment on those. Cade Crockford, my good friend from the ACLU of Massachusetts, seems a little concerned about those. And, hey, maybe we'll have her on the show soon to talk about that. But I'm going to reserve judgment on that. But the one I know that I do not like, the one that really does worries me, goes back to the NRA ad.
Then why is he skeptical about putting armed security in our schools?
Well, folks, as I said, he's not. In fact, one executive order that is number 18 of the 23 is to, quote, provide incentives for schools to hire resource officers. And while some means psychologist, a lot of it actually means, frankly, armed guards. In fact, he also urged Congress to give money to schools for things like armed guards. And frankly, that really does worry me quite a lot. Turning schools into armed camps worries me. I think that's a horrible idea. I mean, look, and let's be honest here. Already, a lot of our schools are actually, frankly, already quite a lot like prisons, especially in poor and minority neighborhoods, where kids go through metal detectors, where lockers are randomly searched, where they're essentially living in an armed police state. That is already the situation for a good deal of students, again, especially poor and minority students, and that is a horrible situation for children to be in. In fact, the ACLU of Massachusetts did a study in 2012 on school-to-prison pipelines and what the presence of having armed police officers at schools actually does for children. They found that schools, quote, predominantly use school resource officers to enforce their code of student conduct. Children are routinely arrested and charged with disturbing a lawful assembly for doing utterly non-threatening things such as bouncing a basketball in a hallway and slamming a door. This is, again, what we're talking about here is kids are being arrested essentially for just being kids, being smartasses, acting out, things that kids do and frankly are supposed to do, things they should do. I mean, look, if a kid does something bad at school, that's why you have something called detention. That is why you have detention. That is not, acting out in school is not a reason to send kids to bloody prison. It's not. Our schools are not prisons. They're not supposed to be, and it sounds like we want to make them so. The ACLU also found, quote, students who are arrested at school are 3 times more likely to drop out than students who are not. Students who drop out are 8 times more likely to end up in the criminal justice system than those who remain in school and graduate. Again, what they found is something that's very obvious, is that you are essentially, by having this police presence there, you are essentially creating this school to prison pipeline. And you go, again, we've talked about the prison industrial complex on this show a ton. We talk about the crazy draconian drug laws that send people to prison for forever, and how that is a major problem in the United States. The ACLU of Massachusetts also found, quote, youth with behavioral and learning disabilities were disproportionately affected by policing practices in Boston and Springfield. The schools with the highest rates of arrest arrest per 1,000 students in these districts were schools for students with diagnosed learning and behavioral disabilities, raising serious questions about the manner in which these schools are administered. Here's something that should be obvious to all of us, and I hope it is, that further turning our schools into police states with armed guards is a bloody awful idea. It's a horrible idea. And in fact, the ones that are currently police states, the ones in poor and minority neighborhoods specifically, we need to fix those and stop it there. What's so troubling about this is after the horrific and heartbreaking Sandy Hook massacre, everyone, rightfully scoffed at the scumbag NRA head, Wayne LaPierre, when he said that we should have armed police officers in every school in the nation. That was his solution. Well, how many people who scoffed at him rightfully are just going along with what Barack Obama is proposing now? And again, I'm not necessarily saying that there's some evil, horrible intent about this. I mean, don't get me wrong here. I am pleased that we are at least having this discussion nationally, because we need to have it nationally. And because the truth is, something does need to be done when it comes to gun violence here in our country. And I am very glad that the National Rifle Association is finally being treated like the evil, monstrous, gun-running piece of crap organization that it is. All that I am saying is, we need to be careful and vigilant that when we address this much needed problem, this problem that really does need to be addressed, we have to address this problem. We need to be careful that we don't create and make other problems that are worse. We'll be right back.